Most things are fads. I'm Noah with the Creative Startup, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So, I was thinking a little bit today about the longevity of the things that we consume. I'm not talking about like food that we consume, but the content that we consume. You know, the music we listen to, the news we read, the movies we watch. How much of this is really going to matter in 50 years? You might notice something. I like to keep this stack of books to my left here, and I just started doing it a couple weeks ago. But all these books have one thing in common. They're all at least 50 years old. So if we go down the list here, I got the Bible, which is definitely more than 50 years old, and great book, stood the test of time, full of a lot of wisdom. Then I got The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, which is about 200 years old. It contains the basic principles for our modern economic system, the basic capitalist ideals. I've got Primo Levi's If This Is Man, which is a story about Primo Levi surviving the Holocaust as a Italian Jew. Yeah, Italian Jew, and then his journey back home after that. And I've got The Great Gatsby, which most of us, I'm sure, are familiar with, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald back in the 1920s. Great book. Again, stood the test of time. And last but not least, I got Plato's Republic, which was written in... I don't think we even know when that book was published, but it's thousands of years old. It's back from ancient Greece. My point is, these are old books. And why do I have a pile of old books next to me? Because I think old books are much more important than new books. Because there's so much content coming out today. There's always books. Like every second a book is being released and someone's hyping it up and they're saying they wrote the greatest book and it's going to do this and it's going to do that. And you'd probably read it and be like, yeah, this is a good book. This makes a lot of good points. But only these books and a select few have really stood the test of time. And I find time and time again, it's these things that have stood the test of time that make for great content, that make for great wisdom, that make for great music and inspiration. So I want to talk today about 3 ways that we can think more on a basis of a long period of time. How can we expand our art, our creativity, the things that we're making to be relevant in 50 years? What does that mean? And what were the mindsets of the people writing these books that we can then take and carry that in what we're doing ourselves? So I'm going to read just a little bit out of this great book, Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Reich. I believe it's pronounced Reich. It's German, so I'm not sure. He says, things aren't all so tangible and sayable as people would usually have us believe. Most experiences are unsayable. They happen in a space that no word has ever entered. And more unsayable than all other things are works of art. Those mysterious existences whose life endures beside our own small, transitory life. That's not super specific. I mean, it's super beautiful writing. But I love this idea that things aren't also tangible. So I can't give you a 5-step process for how to make great art. I can't tell you exactly what it is that's going to make your art last into the centuries to come. But we can look at these ways that these men and women who wrote these books, I guess these are all written by men, but what did they do? What was it that made them great? And how can we adopt a similar mindset? So here's 3 ways that we can have that same mindset. 3 ways that we can think big picture and create things that'll last through the big picture. So the first is cut down on meaningless content, right? So meaningless content is anything from stupid TV shows you like to watch to reading the New York Times or the New Yorker, or most publications. Like I was emailing with Derek Sivers, the guy who started CD Baby, a big inspiration of mine actually. And I was emailing back and forth with him, just asking some questions. I said, what publications do you read? You know, what publications do you think are important? And he emailed back, none. He doesn't read any publications. He says it's it's all just a fad, you know, like the publications are just trying to make money by selling ads, and it's this whole ecosystem they got on their own. They're not there to help you learn things, to make your life better. They're just there to sell you news. And so once something's not important today, they're going to make something else up tomorrow. And it's just, there's no quality to it. And I'm not saying don't watch TV and don't read the news, but I'm saying if that's what your thought life is consumed with, if you're consumed with the latest season of whatever's coming out, or if you're consumed with this latest great movie that's happening, or you're consumed with what you just read in the New York Times, what you saw in the news this morning, cut back, because that's not important. You know, yes, it's real. Yes, there's things happening in this world. Yes, there's good movies coming out. Yes, TV shows are interesting, but it's not important. It's not going to change who you are. It's not going to impact your life. If you find yourself caught up in these thought patterns, first thing you do is cut back on that content. The second thing to do is use the time filter, right? People ask me, like, how do you know what great books to read? Because I'm always trying to read really interesting books. Or how do you know which music to listen to? How do you know what movies are going to be really good? How do you find inspiration in these things? How can you qualify something as good or bad when it comes to art and books and literature, all this stuff? Well, the only one way that I've found that always seems to work is time. Time is the true test of all these things. If you added up all the ages of these books, I've got thousands and thousands of years of knowledge sitting right here on a shelf next to me. And sure, there might be new books coming out that are fun and interesting, and there's all this hype about them, but I know these books are good. Because no book sits around for 1,000 years and still sells copies if it's crap. No bad writing lasts that much. There's so much being written, and there's always been a lot of stuff being written and created, and most of it we'll never hear about again. And last but not least, very important, adopt a mindset of longevity. The Kardashians are really famous. They have so many Instagram followers, they make a ton of money, they're all over the internet. And nobody knows why. Like, none of us can explain why they're famous. They don't have any special talents. They didn't do anything all that great. But somehow they're super famous and they make millions of dollars. And I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not bothered by it. But if you're chasing the same thing as the Kardashians through making art, if you're trying to be famous, have a bunch of Instagram followers, and get your name all over the internet and make millions of dollars, you're not going to put out art that's true quality. You're not going to put out art that carries into the future. See, the difference between great artists and hype artists, one-hit wonders, is that attitude, right? If you look at Kendrick Lamar, he's putting out music whether it's popular or not because it's great music. And sure, there's commercial stuff behind it. There's always commercial stuff. It costs money to make music, so you have to make money on the music. But Kendrick Lamar isn't saying, I want to make millions of dollars. He actually lives in like a $500,000 house, which in LA is like nothing. You know, the guy isn't trying to be something. He's just putting out good music. And I use Kendrick Lamar a lot as an example because I really like him. But this is true of tons and tons of artists throughout history. Even the ones who became famous, the ones who stayed famous and who stayed good, didn't lean into the fame. They didn't lean into the riches. You know, they said, yeah, that's there, that's nice, that's cool. I don't have to worry about money, but I'm not going to live this crazy lifestyle because I'm more concerned about making good music, about making great art. So if you truly want to make great art, adjust that attitude. Adjust it to say, what can I do that's great? How can I hone my skill? How can I hone my craft? And yes, you have to market it. Yeah, you got to sell yourself. Yeah, you got to get stuff out there. But that's secondary. First, you make good content. I've been making YouTube videos for 6 months now, 5 months, and like nobody's watched them. Nobody watches this channel. And that's okay. Because I like making this. And I put work into it. And I care about it. I think it's important. I think it's good content. And I don't have time right now to focus on marketing it. But I do have time enough just to focus on putting good stuff out there. And that's number one. I hope that advice is helpful for you guys. I hope this can help you make better art, to carry your art into the future, carry your creativity into the future, and expand the work of great art in the world, not just clutter it up with more crap. So if that's helpful, click subscribe down below. I'll be making more videos every week, and again, I hope this is helpful for you guys. Have a great week.